Hey y'all, my name is Tiz, and I am reading from Mutual Aid, Dean Spade's book, Mutual Aid, Building Solidarity During This Crisis and the Next. I'm on chapter 1, 3 key elements of mutual aid, and I'm on the second key element. So, key element of mutual aid number 2. Mutual aid projects mobilize people, Mutual aid projects mobilize people, expand solidarity, and build movements. Mutual aid is essential to building social movements. People often come to social movement groups because they need something: eviction defense, childcare, social connection, healthcare, or help in a fight with the government about something like welfare benefits, disability service, immigration status, or custody of their children. Being able to get help in a crisis is often a condition for being politically active, because it's very difficult to organize when you are also struggling to survive. Getting support through a mutual aid project that has a political analysis of the conditions that produced your crisis also helps to break stigma, shame, and isolation. Under capitalism, social problems resulting from exploitation and the maldistribution of resources are understood as individual moral failings, not systemic problems. Getting support at a place that sees the systems, not the people suffering in them, as the problem can help people move from shame to anger and defiance. Mutual aid exposes the failures of the current system and shows an alternative. This work is based in a belief that those on the front lines of a crisis have the best wisdom to solve the problems, and that collective action is the way forward. Mutual aid projects also build solidarity. I've seen this with the Sylvia Rivera Law Project, a law collective that provides free legal help to trans and gender nonconforming people who are low income and/or people of color. I worked with the group from 2002 to 2019. Again and again, I saw people come to SRLP for help because something bad happened to them in a shelter, in prison, or in an interaction with cops, immigration authorities, the foster care system, or public schools. People seeking legal services for those problems would be invited to participate in organizing and become part of SRLP, working on changing the conditions that have brought them to the group. As people joined, things were often bumpy. Members may have had some things in common, being trans or gender nonconforming, for example, but also differed from one another in terms of race, immigration status, ability, HIV status, age, housing access, sexual orientation, language, and more. By working together and participating in shared political education programs, members could learn about experiences different from theirs and build solidarity across those differences. This changed and continues to change, not only the individuals in the group, but also the kind of politics that the group practices. Solidarity is what builds and connects large-scale movements. In the context of professionalized nonprofit organizations, groups are urged to be single-issue oriented, framing their message around deserving people within the population they serve, and using tactics palatable to elites. Prison-oriented groups are supposed to fight only for the innocent or the nonviolent, for example, and to do their work by lobbying politicians about how some people, not all people, don't belong in prison. This is the opposite of solidarity, because it means the most vulnerable people are left behind. Those who were upcharged by cops and prosecutors, those who do not have the means to prove their innocence, those who do not match cultural tropes of innocence and deservingness. This narrow focus actually strengthens the system's legitimacy by advocating that the targeting of these more stigmatized people is okay. This pattern of anti-solidarity incentives and practices has been devastating for movements as nonprofitization has taken hold, as I'll discuss further in the next chapter. Solidarity across issues and populations is what makes movements big and powerful. Without that connection, we end up with disconnected groups working in their issue silos, undermining each other, competing for attention and funding, not backing each other up, and not building power. Mutual aid projects, by creating spaces where people come together on the basis of some shared need or concern in spite of their different lived experience, cultivate solidarity. Groups doing mutual aid to directly address real problems and real people's lives tend to develop a multi-issue and solidarity-based approach because their members' lives are cross-cut by many different experiences of vulnerability. Sometimes even groups that start with a narrow goal adopt a wider horizon of solidarity and a wider vision of political possibility if they use the mutual aid model. An initial goal of serving people impacted by homelessness quickly reveals that racism, colonialism, immigration enforcement, ableism, police violence, the foster care system, the healthcare system, transphobia, and more are all causes of homelessness or causes of further harm to homeless people. Solidarity and an ever-expanding commitment to justice emerge from contact with the complex realities of injustice. This is exactly how movements are built, as people become connected to each other and as one urgent issue unspools into the broader vision of social transformation.